You know, with every single breath we take, our lungs are telling a story. They create this whole complex soundtrack that can tell us if everything's okay or if there might be some trouble brewing. So, how do we learn to listen to that story? Well, that's what we're here to do. Let's dive in.
So what story are your lungs telling you? It sounds a little dramatic, I know, but it's a very real question. The process of listening to the lungs, it's called auscultation, isn't just about hearing noises, it's really about interpretation. It's about translating these subtle sounds into a clear picture of what's actually happening deep inside someone's chest.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to cover the basics of how to listen properly. Then we'll tune our ears to the normal soundtrack of healthy lungs. You got to know what's normal before you can spot the abnormal, right? After that, we'll put on our detective hats and investigate those extra, unexpected sounds that act as clues. We'll learn how to tell them apart, and finally, what those clues are actually telling us.
All right, let's start with the absolute fundamentals, the art of listening. Because before we can understand the story, we've got to make sure we're hearing it clearly in the first place. And trust me, having the right technique is everything.
So what are we actually listening to? It's the sound of air moving through this really intricate network of tubes called the tracheobronchial tree. Honestly, you can think of it like a wind instrument. Every single breath in and every breath out creates these little vibrations that travel all the way out to the chest wall, just waiting for us to listen in.
So what should we be listening for? Before we can even think about finding something wrong, we have to get really good at recognizing what's right. So let's tune our ears to the three main types of sounds you should expect to hear in a healthy set of lungs.
Okay, this chart is a fantastic cheat sheet for the three normal sounds: bronchial, bronchiovesicular, and vesicular. You can see right away how different they are. We're talking pitch, loudness, how long the inhale is compared to the exhale, and even just the overall feel of the sound. Let's break each one down.
First up, we have bronchial sounds. These are the loudest, highest-pitched ones you'll hear, and you'll find them right over the windpipe, the trachea and larynx. The big giveaway here is that the sound of breathing out is actually longer and harsher than breathing in. It's a really distinct, kind of hollow sound.
Next, we've got the bronchovesicular sounds. You can think of these as the middle ground. They're not too loud, not too soft, not too high-pitched. You'll hear them over the main airways, the major bronchi, where things start to branch out. And the key with these is balance. The inhale and the exhale are pretty much equal in length.
And finally, there are vesicular sounds. Now, this is the sound you'll hear over most of the healthy lung fields. It's soft, it's low-pitched, and it has this gentle rustling quality. The best description I've ever heard is that it sounds like wind blowing through trees. And with this one, the pattern flips again. The inspiration, breathing in, is noticeably longer than the expiration.
Okay, so now we have our baseline of what's normal. So what happens when we hear something else, something extra? These are called adventitious sounds, and they are the crucial clues that can point us toward what might be going on.
It really just boils down to this. On one side, you have the expected sounds, that normal, clear soundtrack of air moving freely. But on the other, you have these unexpected added sounds, and those are the signals that something is interfering with that nice, smooth airflow.
So what exactly are these adventitious sounds? Well, simply put, they're any sound that shouldn't be there, and they usually happen for one of two reasons. Either the air is bumping into stuff it shouldn't, like mucus or fluid, or tiny little airways that were collapsed are suddenly popping open as you breathe in.
Now, when it comes to these abnormal sounds, there are a few usual suspects that pop up all the time. Being able to tell them apart is an absolutely critical skill. So let's get into how to do exactly that.
This slide gets right to the heart of it, comparing the two most common abnormal sounds, crackles and wheezes. The number one difference? Crackles are short, popping sounds. Think of pulling apart a strip of Velcro. You hear them mostly when someone breathes in. Wheezes, on the other hand, are continuous. They're musical, high-pitched sounds, almost like a whistle. And you'll hear those most clearly when someone breathes out.
So, we can identify all these different sounds. But what do they mean? What are these clues, or maybe even the lack of clues, really trying to tell us? Because hearing them is just step one. Understanding them is the whole point.
You know, it's funny. Sometimes the biggest clue is what you don't hear. If the breath sounds are way quieter than they should be, or just gone altogether, that's a huge red flag. It means something is blocking the sound. It could be something inside, like a mucus plug, or a lung that's lost its elasticity from emphysema. Or it could be something outside the lung, like fluid or air, that's basically acting as a sound barrier.
Now on the flip side, what if the sounds are actually louder than normal? Or what if you're hearing those loud, hollow bronchial sounds way out in the peripheral lung where they just don't belong? Well, that points to density. When a part of the lung becomes dense and solid, like it does with pneumonia, it actually becomes a better conductor of sound. It's like an amplifier, carrying those sounds from the big airways right to your stethoscope.
And all of this brings us to one last crucial point. And this quote says it all. While hearing crackles and wheezes are important clues, a completely silent chest, well, that can be the most serious sign of all. It can mean that no air is moving whatsoever, which is a true emergency. It's a powerful reminder that listening to the lungs isn't just a routine checkup, it's a vital skill for understanding the life or death story being told with every single breath.